What is up, my fellow conspirator? It is, of course, none other than your boy, Matty Milligan, and this is episode number 22 of the Underground Marketing Conspiracy. Ooh! Today, we are talking about overcoming objections in sales. As someone that's been doing sales for probably 12, 13 years at this point, I feel that I do have a lot of expertise on this topic. I've done door-to-door sales, I've done street selling, I've done inbound sales, I've done outbound sales, I've done high-ticket closing and high-ticket sales. I know my way around the sales arena. I've read many different sales books, classics obviously, like Zig Ziglar, Tom Hopkins, Brian Tracy, and then the modern guys as well, like Dan Locke, Ryan Stewman, and several other guys that I've learned some high ticket sales from. But sales is one of those things that a lot of people just don't want to do it. They'd rather send someone to a website or specifically an order page or a landing page or a sales page to just sell their products for them. But even if you just record a video and you send it to people, your sales aren't going to be that great if you have no previous or prior experience doing any kind of sales. And I originally got into sales not because I wanted the skill of selling or because I wanted to make money. I did it personally because I didn't have any social skills at the time and I was very shy. And I needed something that was going to get me outside of my head and actually get me interacting with other people and really just improving myself. So the first job I guess I had in terms of sales working in the corporate environment was doing door-to-door sales. And this job really changed me, to be honest. You had to show up and be there at 8 o'clock prompt every single day, or you wouldn't work for the day, which sounds fair, to be honest. And usually you would work probably 12 hours, and this includes the time you're waiting to get picked up at the end of the night from the specific route that you were on, and then getting driven back. And some of these nights, you would get very little sleep, to be honest. Like there were some nights when I would get 2 or 3 hours of sleep. I would get home, eat, crash, wake up, take the bus to that job, and then do it. And there were some points when I would work 3 weeks straight, every single day, like basically Sunday to Saturday. And I was in my 20s, so I had all sorts of energy, and the money was pretty good for me at that time. I wasn't one of the best, to be honest. I was okay. I would say I was slightly above average in terms of that. My main problem though is that I was overweight at the time and I was in terrible shape and I couldn't hit up as many doors as the other people throughout the day. And at the same time I wasn't great at overcoming objections. So I would say the first thing before you even think about how to overcome objections and why you need to have that skill, the first thing that I would really focus on is you're probably not getting yourself into enough opportunities to actually make those sales at first. So this is something where, let's say maybe you're hitting up like 500 people per day, you should probably be hitting up a lot more than that. And I wouldn't worry about the ratio of how many people you're going to close, whether that's how many people you're actually going to get on the phone and how many people are actually going to buy from you on that call. I wouldn't worry too much about that if you're new. I would just worry about gaining that confidence where you don't feel as anxious before the sales calls. That's going to be a big thing. That's just going to get you a lot more comfortable and really just, again, get you outside of your head and focusing on the other person and focusing on this potential client's needs as opposed to what you want, which is obviously making the sale, making money, growing your business, etc., right? Really put your focus and your attention on that person and find out what they want. But eventually what you'll notice is that clients are going to start hitting you up with objections. At first you might just start pitching and they're like, yeah, I'm not interested. And those are the ones where I'm like, awesome, like thank you for just saving me so much time, because those were always the best ones. We're like, yeah, I'm not interested. Like, I'm not, for XYZ reason. It's like, okay, that makes logical sense. Like that, I can see why. Because not every person is in a position to buy at that time. Not every person is a qualified buyer. So this is where doing research in some cases is very important to find out if that person is in fact the decision maker. And even if they're not, befriending them if they know the decision maker, that's something. And don't do this from kind of a value taker perspective where you're like, yeah, I'm going to befriend them and then they're going to introduce me to the decision maker and I'm going to make the sale. That's not what I'm saying at all. You're completely missing the point. You should be like, oh, how can I bring this person value, right? Like, how can I actually genuinely care about this other person and put the emphasis on them as opposed to me? Now, there's all sorts of different objections you're going to get in sales. There's really just, I would say, 3 reasons that people don't buy, which is usually they just don't want what you're buying, so they don't like your offer, or they're just not interested in that specific offer. They don't believe in you, that you can get them results, or they don't believe in themselves. If you're familiar with the book Expert Secrets, he goes through all of these in the 3 secrets, right? Where it's like secret number 1 is someone has a false objection and you basically need to, about your vehicle, which is what you're selling them. So you need to overcome that in their head. Then you need to overcome all of their own internal beliefs, right? So those are usually where they're like, oh, I lack confidence, I lack the knowledge, I lack the skills, stuff people think about themselves. And then the final one is the external beliefs, which is essentially like, oh, time, money, resources, but more so the other person when it comes to sales and selling service-based stuff. And this includes coaching and consulting as well, and a lot of other high ticket stuff. I don't really like the word high ticket, to be honest, but because high ticket is really just a matter of perspective, and it's really something that is subjective based on someone's own, I guess, opinion or their own perspective of how much they really value money and what a lot of money means to one person. I believe I've made this analogy before where it's like, if I were walking in the street and I found 10 grand, I'd be like, oh man, 10 grand. Like that's awesome. Like, oh man, this is gonna do a lot for me. And I'd be super excited, right? I'd feel like I kind of won a little mini lottery. But if you're Jeff Bezos and you walk down the street and you find 10 grand, you're like, oh my God, 10 grand, cool. Like now I can just donate this to some orphanage and help a lot of other people. So don't really project your value of money onto other people when you're in those sales situations. There's been a few things that I've refined recently since I stopped working for other people and started going on my own. There's a lot of other objections that I had that I really didn't have before. One of the biggest things I always have though is just when people start interrupting and they're like, "How much does it cost?" Like that one, I'm always like, "Oh my God!" Like, because what am I going to do? Just spit out a price? I've had calls too before where I've taken the call and then I go into my whole process, which I'll talk about in a minute, but I start going into it and I'm like setting basically the agenda for the call, which is a big important step that a lot of people miss. I'm setting the agenda for the call where it's like, hey, so you know what, like here's how the call is going to work. At the end of this call, you can say yes, which is fine, which is awesome because you're going to work with me and I'm going to help you and we're going to work hand in hand and I'm going to basically work with you and consult with you and, really just help you get the results that you want. Number 2 thing you can say is no, which is absolutely fine. Understand that. Like, it doesn't really bother me when people say no to me. That's absolutely fine. No hard feelings. Or what you could say is that, let me think about this, or I need to speak with someone else, or I need a little bit more time to think about this. And I've had people where in that step they're interested, like, whoa, hold on, like how much does it cost? And in the past, what I would do, I've tried a few things. I tried just spitting out the price, spitting like a quick offer, being like, oh, we're going to get this, and this for this price. And that never worked, to be honest, because I haven't built any value in myself or what I can do for the person. I don't even understand their needs at that point, which is a huge thing. So those are the situations where I had one dude where I'm like, yeah, like, you know what? It's not going to cost you anything if we don't do business together. And this guy was like, wait, like, what do you mean? Like, just tell me how much it costs. And I'm like, you know what? This isn't going to be a good fit. And I just hung up on the guy. And a lot of people might think that's rude, but it's like, well, I'm just kind of setting the expectation for how it's going to work. And I want to work with people again, where it's like, there's a way I structure my calls in a specific way because I structure it that way to help the other person. And if they're not willing to let me help them, then it's not worth it. They're just probably looking for the best price at that point, to be honest. They don't understand the service themselves. They just think it's pretty easy and anyone can do it. And in some cases, depending on the service, that might be true, but I don't know, I think what I do is pretty complex, to be honest, and you have to work for a long time to acquire the skill set that have at this point. So that's a really big one. When people say, oh, your price is too high, and it's like, oh, compared to what? I always say that. I'm like, compared to what? It's like, well, this other guy's doing it for that. And it's like, okay, well, what kind of results has he had? Like, what kind of portfolio does he have? What kind of clients does he have? And it's like, is he working on a specific niche? Like, where is he located? Okay, and you have to kind of make them understand where it's like, well, I get paid this much because of these reasons, and that person charges a lot less because they're usually like a solo freelancer and they probably don't have as much experience as I do. Sometimes, again, if people say, let me think about it, that's usually my fault. And if people say that at the end of the call, I'm like, oh, I didn't set the agenda. If people basically ask if they want a guarantee, or they say, what if it doesn't work? And it's like, look, I can't guarantee anything. The only thing I can guarantee in the entire world are death and taxes. So here's what I do hope and expect to happen, but I really can't guarantee anything. At the same time, can you guarantee me that you're going to show up every single day? Can you guarantee me that when I request some information, you're going to send it to me as soon as possible, as opposed to sitting on it for a week and then not getting back to me? How is your communication going to be? Can you guarantee me that you're going to show up every single day and communicate with me help you? Can you guarantee that? And a lot of people are like, okay, that usually makes sense. Let's see, what else did I want to talk about? When people say send me more information or send me a proposal, like send me more information, I'm like, okay, like what kind of stuff do you want to see? What do you want to see? Like, what information do you want? And then I'm going to list it out and be like, okay, cool. And I do the same thing with a proposal, which I'll go through in a second, but it's like, okay, what information would you see? All right, cool. So if I send you that information, let's bottom line this. What's it going to take for us to do business right now? And then again, they're going to let me know their needs. They're going to come up with the actual objection, which is usually money. And then from there, I'm going to go forward. Same thing with the proposal. When someone's like, oh, just send me a proposal, I'm going to be like, okay, what do you want in that proposal? All right. And same thing. I'm like, let's bottom line this. What's it going to take for us to not do business today? Or what's it going to take for us to do business today? They're going to let me know the main objection again, which is usually money. And then we're going to come back to that. Usually with the money thing, I'll handle that beforehand. So I'll set the tone where it's like, yeah, hop on the call if you have money to invest. And there's also a qualification step too, which I'll go through. So this is a step after the agenda where I go through and I'm understanding really their needs and their business, where I'm like, okay, cool. Like, I qualify them. I'm like, do you have the time? Are you the decision maker? How much money, and then again, I'm like, okay, what's your budget for this, right? In some cases, they'll be like, oh, I don't really have one. I'm like, okay, let's hypothesize for a second. Like, would it be $1,000, $5,000, $10,000? And people are always going to go for the lowest. They'll be like, I don't know, which is why I like to have just usually 2 or 3 options max. Then they come back and they're like, oh, like it's actually this much. And I'm like, okay, yeah, it's going to be a lot more than that. And if they go like, well, how much is it going to be? I'm going to be like, it depends. Do you also need this? Like, again, understanding more of their needs, understanding that, circling back to really the pain points that they have, and then coming up with a solution. Sometimes I'll give them the price, and there is that sticker shock where they're like, wow, like that is a lot more than I was hoping for. And I'm like, yep, it is a lot of money. Because one of the first rules in sales is always agree with your prospects and your potential clients and your customers in general. Be like, yeah, man, that is a lot of money. But how much is it going to cost you if you continue to do things the same way you've always been doing them right now? And then I shut up. When I make my offer in a lot of pitches too, what I do is I'll state my offer, and then I'll be like, yeah, and the investment for this is X price. And I just stop talking completely. And there's usually a void, right? It's kind of like creating a vacuum, and they're usually like, oh my God, like, yeah, I don't know, like, should I do that? Like, what is that? Yeah. And I don't say anything until they actually ask a question. And then I'll answer it. I'll be like, yeah, that is included. And I'm not going to ask any questions back. I'm just going to let them talk themselves through closing themselves. Because clearly they want it. They just need, like, I'm helping them at that point. Like, they're overcoming their own objections. I'm just answering very basic questions. And it's like, oh, how many hours would I need? It's like, oh, you don't need that much. You just need to give me X, Y, Z and be available at these times. And then eventually people do that. I think I've only had a couple of situations where they haven't bought way in the past, but when I've been doing this recently, people are usually like, yeah, like that sounds fair. Like, like how do I pay you? And as soon as I have like that payment thing it's usually a done deal, right? It's like I'm going to send you an invoice and a quick agreement. You're going to go through that. And then if they do want that proposal, it's like, all right, I'm going to send you this first and then like the proposal. Because for me, I've done a lot of proposals in the past. So writing one for me, I have a few templates that I use and they're super, super fast where I can just throw it up, like bloop, bloop, done, email it to them, and it's all completely taken care of. But that's the main objections that I've seen. And I think overcoming them, like it comes with time and it comes as well with your own belief in yourself and really, really just, I guess it comes with a lot of experience too, because if you've never done sales before, then it might seem intimidating. But as I always say, people are super nice. And even if you get the person on the phone, worst case, they say no to you. And it's not that big a deal. Rejection is kind of like a muscle. The more and more you actually get rejected and the more people say no, the less you actually care. At this point in my life, it's like air coming out of people's mouths. Sure, there are times when I must admit there are times when I do feel anxious before some calls, when it's just a day where I wake up and I'm like, oh my God, and I'm in a very kind of derpy state where I don't want to do anything and I just might feel tired. It's funny though, as soon as I get on that call, it's gone. It's always just that anxiety for a few minutes leading up to it, right? And you might be on the call and you might feel super nervous. I have a list of questions like in front of me that if I ever get stuck on the call and I forget where I am, again, I'm just going to ask them those questions. I didn't really talk much about personality types in this video, but I just really gave you the basics in this video on how to just overcome objections in sales. And the main one you're really going to get is the money thing. And in some cases, just walking people through the process. Maybe in some cases, it's changing the payment deadlines. I don't like to ever lower my price. When I state a price, it's like, no, like the price doesn't lower. Because I've lowered it in the past. It's made me lose integrity in the past for sure. It's given the client like a one up on me. Like in some cases, they might feel like they're getting a deal, but I usually just don't like negotiate things. And they'll be like, oh, well, like what if I do 2 or 3 of these? And it's like, it's going to be the same price. And you just have to really stick to your guns in those situations. People are always going to want some sort of a deal. And I've had people where they're like, oh, like, can you do it for this price? And I'm like, yeah, I can do it for that price, but you're going to get that amount of work and you're not going to get that. It's like, oh, can you do this for like 70% of the price or like for 30% off? It's like, yeah, I can do that for 30% off, but you're going to get 30% less of the results. So, and in some cases, for some people that I work with, they sell very expensive stuff, very expensive products and services and offers. So in some cases, it doesn't even matter. If you're selling something for like 10 grand, does it really matter what you pay someone to make those sales? If they can help you get a bunch of those, like, would you be willing to pay 10 grand if someone helped you get to $1 million? I'm sure anyone would do that. That's a serious return on investment. So overcoming money is probably going to be your biggest objection. And if people are like, oh, I don't know about you, be like, okay, like what do you want me to see? In some cases, they'll be like, okay, like I want to see some testimonials. And it's like, okay, cool. How many testimonials do you want to see? All right, because there's certain points, really quickly, I'll make this point. There's a certain point in that sales conversation where it's like, all right, like this person is just, I don't know how much proof I'm gonna have to show to them to actually get them to purchase. It's like, I can't untangle the Christmas lights in their head. That's something that they need to do themselves. Because I've had some people where it's like, all right, here's another testimonial, here's another testimony, here's another testimony. And it's like, they're still like, I'm not sure. And it's like, all right, you're just asking for an unreasonable amount of testimonials at that point. Because some people are like, oh, I want to see like 100 testimonials. It's like, all right, why do you want to see 100 testimonials? It's like, well, I want to, just make sure they're all legitimate. It's like, are you going to actually like read through 100 testimonials? Like, are you actually going to do that? And those are usually the people that you don't want to do anything with, right? If you're in a point too where you're like, oh, I might want to work with people for free, the offer I would make is, hey, you know what? Like, I'll do this for you, and at the end of it, like, this is the price. If you feel that it's not what you want, then you don't pay me. And again, that's if you're like just starting out as a freelancer where you don't have much experience, because that's going to really help you get experience. It's going to just help you get that sale under the belt. And when you close a big sale, like a high ticket offer, which for me at this point would be like 20, 25 grand more at this point. When you close something like that, like it's life changing, right? It's like you close one deal, it's like wow. And what's funny is you might go on cold streaks where you're not selling as much, but when you make that one sale, it just like gets you out of that cold streak. And the best time to make another sale is right after you've made one sale, right? If I ever am intimidated by about calling someone or talking to someone that I'm nervous about speaking to because I think that they're very high status, after I've made that sale, I'm like, okay, now is the perfect time to cold call that person and reach out to them. I used to do that in a lot of my phone sales stuff that I used to do. Hope you found this video super helpful, and hopefully you will use some of these strategies to close more sales yourself. If you did enjoy this video, consider subscribing and consider watching a few other videos at the same time. Once again, this is your boy, Matty Mills. This is the Underground Marketing Conspiracy, and I will see you next time. Woo!